Okay, setting up proper motivation with 3 points. Refuge field. Refuge field, what to visualize and how to visualize. Visualize the Buddha Shakyamuni. His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Arya Nagarjuna. Arya Arya Tara, Arya Matriya, Arya Vajrapani, Arya Shantideva, Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Deva, Acharya Buddha, Acharya Nagarjuna, Acharya Shantideva, Arya Sangha, Acharya Bandhu, Acharya Naga, Acharya Dharmakirti, Bodhicaryavatara Shantideva, Bodhicaryavatara Shantirakshita, Acharya Kamalishil, Lama Seedling from Indonesia, Lama Drepung Guru Padmasambhava, Baba, Sajjan Konganyingbo, Sajjan Pandita, Jizun Tilupa, Jizun Narupa, Jizun Marba, Jizun Mela, Jizun Tapolaji, Lama Tsonglapa, Gilsarum Bishi, Ketrum Bishi, and all the enlightened beings. And how we visualize them. They're like very fashioned parents, and imagine that you come home demoralized, being bullied by the elder children at school, and your parents are waiting there to give full love, affection, and attention. And Bodhicitta field, visualize your 2 parents on the 2 sides, your family members, including your children, and everyone here in Montfort Spirituality Center, everyone in Bangalore, everyone in this world, and in the entire universe. And here, you are the mother, and all of us are like your children. And imagine they come home demoralized, and you are there to give full love, affection, and attention. And the purpose of this practice is to awaken the seed of Buddha nature within us, the seed of perfection within us, referred to as Buddha nature. Like a gold, when mixed with soil, the gold is not visible, the gold does not shine. Likewise, although we have the Buddha nature within us, the seed of perfection, why it is not manifest, why it doesn't glow, is because of some obscurations. And the obscurations are of 2 kinds, the gross and the subtle. The gross one referred to as afflicted obscurations, the presence of which blocks us from achieving fearlessness or nirvana. And the subtle one obscures us from achieving infinite happiness of Buddhahood. And in both cases, the gross one is of 3 kinds, contaminant karmas, afflictions, and active seeds. And all these things hover around self-grasping ignorance. And the remedy is the wisdom of emptiness, driven by the force of renunciation, desiring to come out of samsara. And the quality of obscuration, the subtle one, remedy remains the same, given that it is the subtle stains of the self-grasping ignorance and its offshoots, but the motivational factor must be very powerful to cleanse even the subtle stains. That is, the bodhicitta, desiring to become Buddha for all sentient beings. And this bodhicitta must come into being and support of great compassion, rooted on renunciation. Okay, with that in mind, the desire to generate this wisdom, this very powerful wisdom of emptiness, and the grounded or supported by the bodhicitta, the desire to cultivate these two. Let's turn to page 3, and you are leading this, and all sentient beings are joining us. And to by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Bodhicaryavatara, I bear homage. And to by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Bodhicaryavatara, I bear homage. And to by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Bodhicaryavatara, I bear homage. Sangye Jodam Zoge Jonam Janju Bardo Dane Gyasu Che Dage Jinso Kebe Zonam Ye Doda Penjere San Shu Sangye Jodam Zoge Jonam Janju Bardo Dane Gyasu Dage Jinso Kebe Zonam Ye Doda to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, by my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, and no sameness. That's what remember all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is freedom of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the bodhisattvas and Buddhas, who through the knowledge of all these hearers seek complete peace, who through the knowledge of past causes those have been migrated to achieve the aims of the world, and who through the position of omniscience helps subdue us expand a variety of teachings. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altars to the benefit of sentient beings, a teacher of Sugata and who have illustrations, the one who has eliminated the local conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays, to you the Buddha and make illustrations. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence I generate the mind, full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. Evam Vati Mahashramanaya Swa profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite. Such nectar like Dharma I have discovered. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is the professional wisdom, which is unborn, unseized, and has the nature of space. It's the ultimate apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas with the 3 times of the obeisance. All composite things are impermanent, all contaminated things are of the nature of suffering. All phenomena are of the nature of emptiness and selflessness, transcending soul is peace. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of everything wholesome, above refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, you liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the extent. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of the suchness that the beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all who miseries gloom. If you are attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. If you are attached to samsara, you have no renunciations. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view. Okay, page 14. Okay, today we read page 12, the Noble Sutra Remembered to use. So as we read this, the same the pattern happens. Think of the qualities nature of the Buddha and see if you have these qualities. If you have, see how to nurture them further. If you don't, knowing that these are the qualities of those which you are enlightened, and see how to cultivate them and nurture them further. Homage to the omniscient one, purified and consummate, victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. Thus God before is true and entirely perfect Buddha, full of wisdom, the blissfully proceeding, the knower of the world, charioteer and subduer of beings, the unsurpassable teacher of gods and humans such as Buddha, victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. He who is thus God exemplifies the merit which is his cause. In him no root of virtue is ever worn away. Through his manifold patience he is excellently beautiful. He is the treasure ground of merit, adorned with the tokens of enlightenment. He is graced with the flowers and the locks of Buddhahood. All he does is timely and opportune, and nothing inharmonious marks the sight of him. True joy indeed he gives to those who open up their hearts to him in faith. Through the brilliance of his wisdom he is unconfounded, and gains his power. There is no victory. He is the teacher of all living beings, the father of all the bodhisattvas, the king of all supreme ones. He is the guide of those who journey into the city beyond affliction. His wisdom is unbounded, his assurance is beyond imagination. One is never sated, his body is beyond compare, by the realm of the design, he is unstained, and by the realm of form, he is wholly uncontaminated. He is not mingled with the formless, he is altogether free from misery and from their gates. He is utterly and altogether liberated. Elements have no hold in him, he has mastery over the sense powers. All his bonds are completely severed, and from all pains he is perfectly and totally released. No craving does he have, he has passed beyond the stream. Perfect is his wisdom, and in the wisdom of the Buddha's past, present, to come. He has made his dwelling. In Nirvana, where all suffering is transcended, he does not abide. His abode is on the summit of perfection, whence he perceives all living beings. Such are the sublime qualities that have the greatness of the Buddha, victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. The sacred doctrine is righteous in the outset, righteous in the middle, righteous in the end, in its meaning excellent, and its words and syllables. Likewise, it is integral and unalloyed. It is all-sufficing, altogether pure and purifying. Well spoken is the Rama, but the victorious, virtuous, and transcendent. It is behavior that leads us to onward, to see this darkness to fulfill one's purpose. It produces the wise. The Dharma spoken by the victorious, virtuous, and transcendent is shown to be well tempered to the instructions and principles. It drives one from samsara and causes one to go to perfect Buddhahood. It is free from contradiction, and in it all is summarized. It is to be relied upon totally. It is a cutting of the root. The Sangha of the Mahana comprises those who have once entered with righteous straightforwardness and aptitude. While it is to join one's hands before them and right to make prostrations. They are the glorious field of merit. They are the perfect recipient of gifts. They are the objects of offering everywhere and always. They are the objects worthy of all offering. Page 14, you read the verses. When all supreme amongst humans, who are born on this earth, who pays our seven strides that set up supreme in this world, to you who are wise that are prostrate, with pure bodies formed supremely pure, with motion like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the three worlds, winner the best, Lord to you are prostrate. With the supreme science raised like a spotless moon, color like gold to you are prostrate. Prostrate like you, the three worlds are not, incomparable was one, to you are prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of matter qualities like a vast ocean, to you the Tathagata prostrate, the purity that frees one from attachment. To the Dharma that pacifies are prostrate, those who are liberated and also show the path of liberation, wholly qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the Sangha prostrate. Do not commit any virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue all your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through this means, sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 29, Har Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Nagarjuna. Thus today he at one time, the Buddha was dwelling in the mass of Valchas mountain in Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Buddha was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound illumination. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Nagarjuna looked upon the very practice of the profound illumination of wisdom and beheld those faculties also as the end of inherent nature. And through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Nagarjuna: how should any child of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound profession of wisdom train? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Nagarjuna said this to the Venerable Shariputra: Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of profound professional wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly, beholding those faculties also as actively in nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composite factors, and consciousness is empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are empty, without characteristics, unproduced, unseen, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composite factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomena. There is no I element and so on, to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation of path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas fly on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom. The mind without obscuration, thus without fear. Having completely passed beyond the era, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awakened, once are possible, perfect, complete enlightenment in the lines of the professional wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the professional wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the Ansarvas mantra, the mantra equal to non-equal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth since it is not false. The mantra of the professional wisdom is declared. Yatham Om Gade Gade Para Gade Para Samgade Buddhi Swaha Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Master, trained with profound professional wisdom like that. Now the Buddha rose from their concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva Master Arya Nagarjuna, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound professional wisdom just as you indicated, even that Tathagata rejoice. The Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Master Arya Nagarjuna, those around the entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras and gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by the Buddha. With the determination to achieve the highest aim, what benefit falls into beings, the surpasses even the wishful gem, may I hold them dear at all times. Whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest amongst all, and from the very depth of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. In all my deeds, may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. When I see beings of unpleasant character and those oppressed by strong negative suffering, as if I've discovered a jewel treasure. When others out of jealousy treat me wrong with their weak slander and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. When someone whom I've helped or whom I've held great hopes mistreat me, may I regard them still as my precious teacher. In brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I quietly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. May I always remain undefiled by the stains of the mundane concerns, and may I recognize in all things as illusions, the word of clinging will release from bondage. From my two collections, vast space that remains, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief living Buddha for all those whose wisdom I have planted in ignorance. Okay, second puja. I bow down to you, Arya Nagarjuna. You, the Buddha, is the lines amongst humans, fount of freedom in the present, past, and future. in the world's of 10 directions. To all of you with body, speech, and sincere mind, I bow down. With the energy of aspiration for the Bodhisattva way, with a sense of deep respect, and with as many bodies as atoms of the world, to all you Buddhas visualize as real, I bow down. On every particle are Buddhas numberless as atoms. Each of them is a host of Bodhisattvas. I am confident the sphere of all phenomena is entirely filled with the Buddhas in this way. With infinite oceans of praise for you, and oceans of sound from the essence of my voice, I sing the breathtaking excellence of Buddhas and celebrate all of you Sugatas. Beautiful flowers in legal gardens, sweet music, sacred halls and parasols, sparkling lights and sublime incense are offered to you towards ones of Buddhas. Fine dress and fragrant perfumes, sensible power heap high as Mount Meru. All martyrs offering in spectacular array offered to you towards ones. The translated offerings bear as and pass with profound admiration for all the Buddhas. With strength of conviction in the Bodhisattva way, I offer and bow down to all victorious ones. Every harmful action I have done with my body, speech and mind, overwhelmed by attachment, anger and confusion, all these I openly lay bare before you. I lift my heart and rejoice for all the merit of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in 10 directions, of solitary realizers here still training and those beyond, and of all ordinary beings. You who are the bright lights of worlds in 10 directions, who attain the Buddha's omniscience through the stages of awakening. All you who are my guides, please turn the supreme wheel of Dharma. With arms together, I earnestly request who you may actualize Parinirvana. Please take the blast for aeons numberless as atoms in the world, for the happiness and well-being of all wanderers in samsara. Whatever is like married I may have accumulated by making prostrations, offering, confessing, rejoicing and requesting, I now dedicate all this for the full awakening of all beings. Okay, mantle offering. On this ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, unrolled Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as the Buddha filled an offering. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure land. May I be blessed that my mind is directed towards the Dharma. May I be blessed that my Dharma practices on the proper path. May I be blessed that the path is free of flaws. May I be blessed that the flaws are seen in the laddering solid wisdom. Becoming utterly frustrated in ignorance of the past true existence, please bless me with genuine renunciation, seeing all aspects of samsara as viciously repulsive. Please bless me that my mind soon overflows with the precious bodhicitta that cherishes others more than myself. Please bless me to have an immaculate experience of the wisdom of emptiness that does not see even an atom of intrinsic reality on the basis of understanding how things come to being by dependent origination through mere conditioning. Please bless me that my mind stream overflows with the precious wisdom of the non-duality of bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratnam Mendel Lama Niratiyami. Okay, the foundation of all good qualities. The foundation of all good qualities is the kind and the perfect pure Guru. Correct devotion to him is the root of the path. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon him with great respect. Understanding that the precious freedom of this birth is found only once, is greatly meaningful and is difficult to find again. Please bless me to gem with the mind that unceasingly day and night takes its essence. This life is as impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. After that, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of virtues and non-virtues come or follow. Finding firm and definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be careful to abandon even the slightest negativity and accomplish all virtuous deeds. Samsaric splendors are unsatisfying and unreliable. Seeking them to draw to all suffering. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate a strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Then by this pure thought, mindfulness, and alertness in great motion arise. The root of the teaching is keeping the breath in motion laws. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. So all Mother, my creatory beings, please bless me to see this training Supreme Bodhicitta and bear the responsibility of freeing my creatory beings. Even if I develop Bodhicitta, but I don't practice the 3 types of morality, I'm not achieving enlightenment. With my clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice the Bodhisattva vows with great energy. Once I pacify distractions, known objects, and correctly analyze the meaning of reality, please bless me with quickly within my mind strength, unified path of Karma binding special design. Having become a pure vessel by training in the general path, and please bless me to enter the holy gates of the fortunate ones, a supreme Vajrayana. At that time, the basis of the accomplishment of true attainment is keeping pure vows in Samaya. As I become firmly convinced of this, please bless me to protect these vows and pledges throughout my life. Then, having realized the importance of the true stages, as of Vajrayana, by practicing great energy, never give up for 4 sessions, please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. And that may the Gurus who show us the noble path and the spiritual friends who practice it in long lives. Please bless me to pacify completely all out and inner hindrances. In all my lives, never separated from perfect Gurus, and enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages of the paths and quickly attain the state of Vajrayana. Next one mantra. You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of love and reverential compassion, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom. As Vajrapani destroyed most of demons without exception, Sankapa, crown jewel of the sage of land of snows, love Santapa at your feet and make prostrations. Okay, we will sing this together. Okay, next renunciation. Renunciation is based on the 4 seals. In fact, for renunciation, there are various practices like loving practice and so forth. What we're going to do is the 4 seals. All these loving practice and so forth, they're grounded on the 4 seals. Okay. It's going to be like a guided meditation. Just follow the instructions and see how much you can invoke the respective experiences the best you can. Renunciation. Renunciation is to renounce the miseries, to renounce the fears of life. And some people have a very naive understanding. Renunciation is to renounce all the happiness, renounce this life's happiness and so forth. This is not the reality. Renunciation is to renounce your miseries. To renounce miseries, we need to know how to renounce the cause of the miseries. For the Buddha said, Ye dharma hetu prabhava, that all phenomena arise from the causes. All phenomena here referring to the compulsive phenomena, the phenomena of the nature of happiness, the phenomena of the nature of suffering, they all arise from the causes. Given that they arise from the causes, until one deals with the causes, we cannot expect to get rid of the suffering altogether. We cannot get rid of the miseries, the fears of life altogether. So the best way by which to tackle the cause of the miseries is through tackling the formless perceptions. Formless perceptions, the 4 levels of ignorance, and how they are dealt with is with help of is done with help of 4 seals. The first seal, all composite things impermanent. Misperception that the composite phenomena, impermanent phenomena, are seen as permanent, and that is one which brings many of the cores, many of the gross pains, anxieties, and so forth. But the reality is that none of the composite phenomena is permanent. On the contrary, they're all impermanent. Composite here means anything which is composed of material particles, material parts, or anything which is composed of temporal parts. Temporal parts meaning the parts in time. For example, your mind is not constituted of the material parts, but is constituted of the temporal parts. It's made of parts in time. For example, when we speak about today's mind is constituted of 24 hours mind, first hour mind, second hour mind, and so forth. These are known as the temporal parts. So anything which is composed of material parts or the temporal parts, material parts also referred to as the directional parts, should necessarily be impermanent phenomena. And this impermanence is of 2 kinds, the gross and subtle. The gross one is the impermanent phenomena, whose continuation comes to an end. Whereas subtle impermanence is the momentariness involved in all composite phenomena. In other words, gross impermanence does not entail, does not pervade all impermanent phenomena, but the subtle impermanence pervade of composite phenomena. It is very important for us to reflect on both the kinds of impermanence, or both the levels of impermanence, in order to trigger the sense of genuine sense of renunciation. And the Buddha taught that of all the footprints, the footprint of the elephant is the supreme. Of all the meditations, the meditation on impermanence is the supreme. Meaning that while the meditation on emptiness is of course the liberating part, and all the other meditations, including the meditation in permanence, they are the ripening parts, helping us to ripen the liberating part. But then the Buddha indicated that this meditation in permanence, is the supreme of all the meditations, just as of all the footprints, the footprint of elephant is supreme. So why the Buddha said it this way, is for the reason that the most important meditation and the liberating part, these two are slightly different. Most important meditation, referred to the meditation on impermanence, is for the reason that until we have a sense of urgency, then even if you have realized emptiness, we may not be eager to practice it. So the sense of urgency to practice this mindfulness will come to us with the reflection of the impermanence. So therefore, the one which drives us into the path, to follow the path, Gade, Bala, something like the Buddhist, with the great sense of urgency is the meditation in impermanence. So therefore, it is referred to as the supreme of all meditations. Gross impermanence is good for us to reflect, meditate, recall on gross impermanence every now and then, so that we'll be cut off. Automatically our mind will not feel interested in the trivialities of the life. But we have, for the last, here, we are to say, people in the maybe late 20s, all 30s, and 40s, 50s, 60s. The last, all these many years, we have seen celebrations, festivities, anniversaries, birthday parties, and so forth. Just imagine that at that very moment of the celebration, parties, anniversaries, and so forth, what was the whole ambience, atmosphere like? Everyone was so excited. And where is that now? It's all gone. That very celebration, that very party will not come back anymore. That's gone forever. That's impermanence. Likewise in our life, we've seen beautiful sunsets. Those sunsets, where are they now? They're gone forever. They will not come back anymore. Likewise in our very life, some who are younger than us, some who are our own age, some who are older, many who are older than us, they're all gone. This impermanence. And it's not that they are the unlucky ones and we are the lucky ones. No. It's a matter of time. Time awaits us to go through this gross impermanence. The more we reflect on this, the more we become realistic in our approach, and so the urgency will come to us. Today, we're gathered here, and in other places in the same world, where it's daylight, people are in the indulgence. Some are into study, some are into political activities, some are into business, and so forth. And the parents, they have so much expectations on their children. Their plans, the children, they have their own plan for their careers and so forth. What is happening today was exactly happening 200 years ago, back in time. Where are those people now? 200 years ago, the population may be less than what is today. Today, 7 billion human beings. In those days, people are 5 billion human beings. Where are those 5 billion human beings today? They're all gone. Not even a single person is left today, guaranteed. However powerful the person was, however youthful the person was, however rich the person was, however influential the person was, however least educated the person was, they're all gone. Just look at the remains of the dinosaurs, remains of all those artifacts in the museum. What do they tell us? Impermanence. Whether the parents, the aspirations pertain to the children, they accomplish not, and the children, the aspiration for the career, they accomplish not, along with the plans, the people, they're all gone. Not a single person is left today. This is a part of the impermanence. And what's happening today, here, and in the other parts of the world? People may be into indulgence. People may be into deep practice, maybe into family matters, maybe into business, education, health, environment, and so forth. 200 years down the line in the future, guaranteed not even a single person will be left there, including each one of us. We're all going to disappear. And how many of us are going to be remembered then? Maybe about like 100 people will be remembered. Otherwise, the remaining 7 billion human beings will not even be remembered. And then more than 60, 70, 80% of the people will not even have a clue of our existence 200 years back in time. This is about the impermanence. And this is reality. And what matters, what seems to matter so much today, at the time of the last breath, is totally meaningless. What can surely take with us at the time of that last breath is virtues and non-virtues. Non-virtues we take without a choice. We have to take them to project us into miseries. And the virtues, of course, which we deliberately cultivate, will be this is something which we can take with us, and this will guarantee us a safe journey forward. This is the power of impermanence. And this impermanence, the change that we see on a gross level, is possible only if there's the underlying subtle impermanence, momentariness involved. Momentariness or subtle impermanence meaning the change that you see in your body. The body, when we were 5 years old, 10 years old, the body was so tender, and now the flexibility disappeared, and the complexion disappeared, the tenderness disappeared. So when did this happen? Did it happen overnight? No, it happened starting from day 1 of a birth, aging and death. The 12th leg began the second moment of a birth. So since then, it has been going through all the process for the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. It has been going in this process. And this process was happening yearly basis, monthly basis. And the change that you see on a monthly basis is because of the change that you see over the weekly basis, daily basis, hourly basis. The change you see over the hourly basis is because of the change that you see in the minute basis. And if you look at the wall clock, do you see can you imagine seeing the wall clock, the minute hand moving? No, we cannot really see that. But that, of course, after 5 minutes you look at it, you see that it has moved from one spot to the other, the minute hand. And the change that you see happen on the minute basis is possible only if there is a change happening on the second basis. Do you see the change in the second hand? When you look at the wall? Yes, of course, this is visible to our eyes. This change is what demarcates all the composite phenomena, while the composite phenomena, majority of them, we see them as so static there, our body seems to be so static, and that this hall seems to be so static. This is only the deception. All composite phenomena, no matter what, they are going through such a momentary change, the change that we see in the second hand. From one the dot to the next dot, it just takes 1 second, which is so visible to our eyes. And if this change is possible, only if there's the change happen on millisecond level. At the millisecond level, you just press the timer and see how the digits move so fast. Yet it moves so fast. Even our eyes can hardly catch it. This is how body changes, moves so fast. This is how this hall is changing. This is how the Bangalore is changing. This is how India, the world, the universe, all composite phenomena, this is how they are changing. It's quite scary. The more we reflect on this, if you don't reflect on this, just reflect on it once, but at the most give you the intellectual understanding. Experiential understanding will come to us. How to bring to the experiential? Just delve into this analysis more and more on daily basis. On daily basis. In one day, just see how much you can reflect on this. Over time, within if you are successful with the conducive practice intact, within a few days' time, 3-4 days' time, if you're very successful in creating the conducive environment, within a few days' time you'll see that, you'll experience that the world in which you live, and particularly the house in which you live, your body, and you go out, whatever you see, composite phenomena, you see that they're literally like vibration, they're moving. This is what we can see. If you're successful in this meditation, we will just within 3-4 days' time, it'll happen. Okay, for that matter, we need to introduce bring into the conducive the environment, conducive factors. Otherwise, I would say with an environment where people who are fighting for just over very trivial things, which means that they see things as so permanent. For example, moving from one place to another on a bus, not getting a seat is like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and people fight over the seat. 5 minutes is what is this? It's just nothing. After 5 minutes, you will not even meet each other for the rest of your life, and perhaps for many lifetimes. So these 5 minutes is so precious to be together and pray for the other person. Instead, we fight over the seat. 10 minutes, we fight for the seat. This is all because that we fail to see that as even this very gross impermanence. 5 minutes and then you disappear. So short duration. Still we see that as permanent, and we fight. And likewise we fight over because of the misconception of impermanent phenomena to be permanent. But the reality is that all composite phenomena, they are marked by this momentariness, the change that you see over the millisecond. Press the timer on your mobile and you see how fast the digit moves. This is what we have to do. Literally we have to press the timer to see how the digits, they move so fast, and how our body, on that basis, then you extrapolate on our own body, how the body moves so fast, how mind moves so fast, and how your family members move so fast, each of the family members, and how the house in which you live moves so fast, the whole world moves so fast. This is, if you reflect on it, it's a matter of the reflection, whether or not one reflects. If one reflects, this is what is bound to be experienced. The moment you experience that, it's quite scary to see that everything is all composite phenomena, they move so fast. It's quite scary. For example, you go to grab at a flower. is so beautiful. You go to grab the flower. The moment you stretch your arms to get to the flower which appealed to you is already gone. By the time your hand reaches and touches the flower, that flower to which you feel attached to or which appealed to you, is already gone. It's no more there. The flower that you grab at, when you bring it closer, it's already gone. By the time it reaches close to you, it's already gone. So this is impermanent. Even the person who felt attached to the flower, the moment the flower comes closer to you, that person who felt attached to the flower is gone. This is the reality. But whereas, on the contrary, okay, I'm going to grab this flower. The same flower which appealed to me is not what I'm getting. The person who existed at the time when he felt attached to the flower. So this is the misperception of impermanence, but the phenomena is permanent. And this is what is one of the causes, one of the major the misperceptions or the ignorance responsible for creating all sorts of unnecessary, destructive emotions, thus creating problems with yourself and on others. And so much wars that happened in the past. Now where are these people who fought the wars? Where are the kingdoms? Where are these borders, the borders of the kingdoms, empires, where are they? They're all gone. They fail to realize that. Now they're just like memories. If many of these tiny kingdoms, they're already gone. They're not even in the memories, they're gone even from the memories. This is the reality of impermanence. It's quite scary though. Just imagine that this body moves so fast. It's like a very fast moving train, express train. Imagine somebody stranger at the platform. He or she picks you up and throws you into a very fast moving train. What is your feeling? So much of fear. The faster the train moves, more the fear. Because we don't know where this train is taking you. Who decides where the train is taking you? The driver decides. If the driver is your mother, no doubt that train will take you to a big spot. But if the driver is the terrorists, smugglers, no doubt they will take you to the slaughterhouse or the torture chamber. And who's the driver in that case? That our bodies move so fast, our minds move so fast. Where is it moving towards? Of course it's moving towards the dead. And what after that? It's all determined by the mind, the driver-like mind. And unfortunately, this mind is under the sway of the terrorists. Contaminations, mental contaminations. This is the Buddha taught. All contaminated things are suffering nature. As long as we are under our mind, the driver like the mind, which determines where you're going towards. It is a very fast moving train of the body and mind. Where have you been carried away? Where you're being taken away? It's determined by this mind. Unfortunately, this mind is under the dictate of the two worst contaminations, mental contaminations, self-grasping, ignorance, self-centered attitude. And as long as we are under the sway of these two terrorist-like contaminations, the results that we're going to experience is bound to be of miseries. This is what the Buddha indicates. All contaminated things are suffering nature. As long as we are under the sway of the contaminations of self-grasping and self-centered attitude, all the miseries will follow: sickness, aging, death, tension, anxiety, anguish, depression, the pain of losing the dear ones, the pain of meeting with the situations, meeting with things which are desirable, the pain of losing what is desirable. This is who we are. This is our experience, unfortunately. And one moment of such a pain is good enough to nullify all the past experiences of merriments, festivities, anniversaries, celebrations, and so forth. One moment of the loss of near and dear ones, very close near and dear ones, is good enough to nullify all the past moments of the merriments. All this, the past joys, they're just so shallow, hollow in the face of this one moment of the tragedy that one encounters with. This is how trivial, how shallow, how meaningless samsara is. Despite we are being trapped by the pleasures, by the joys of samsara, in actuality, which are so defiled, which are actually basis for the future miseries. That's very true. When will this come to an end? Of course, it will never come to an end unless until we put some effort. It's unlike 2018, which came to an end on its own. 2016, which came to an end on its own. We did not have to do anything to bring an end to these 2017, 16, 15, 18, so forth. Likewise, miseries, when will they come to an end on their own? They will never come to an end. Impermanences of their three kinds. One, whose continuum comes to an end on its own, no matter what you do. Second, whose continuum never comes to an end, like the mind, the self, the time, and so forth. Third category, whose continuum comes to an end if it meets with the very powerful remedy, powerful opposing factor. Otherwise, it will go endlessly, such as our miseries, such as the cause of miseries, atomic karmas, afflictions, and self-grasping ignorance. Okay, how can we bring an end to these then? Yes, of course. We can bring an end to these miseries only by bringing an end to the cause of miseries. What causes? Ultimately, self-grasping ignorance. How to bring an end to the self-grasping ignorance? By introducing the counter force. What's the counter force? Ignorance, by the very definition, is like darkness. It's only through introducing the light that the darkness can be eradicated. Likewise, it is only through introducing the light of the wisdom that the darkness of ignorance can be eradicated. What kind of wisdom? Wisdom is the discerning mind, whose apprehension of object tallies with the reality. And what's the reality? The reality is what the Buddha indicated as the third seal. Everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. Okay, let's quickly meditate on the emptiness of self. Again, this is going to be a guided meditation. What are you doing? I'm meditating. What is your mind doing? My mind is meditating. What is your body doing? My body is in a meditative state. And how does this person, who you refer to as I, how does this person appear to you? Like a dream, where your mind projects the dream, or like a movie while it is on the screen, it is projected by the movie projector, which is behind you. Or it has nothing to do with the subject, it's nothing to do with the mind, it's nothing to do with the projector like the mind, it's so independently there, so objectified there. How does this person appear to you? Of course, so objectified there. Nothing to do with the mind. This is self-grasping ignorance. Self-appearing is so objectively there, and your mind apprehending it as the way it appears, as objectively real. This is known as self-grasping ignorance. How can I know that this ignorance, how can I know that this is not valid mind? Yes? If this self does exist objectively, remember what Arya Nagarjuna said in his text, Rudnamala, Precious Garland. If the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? If the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? Likewise, if this self would exist objectively, why do not see this self as I go closer to this object? How will you evaluate? If you from 1 kilometer away from me, you see that I'm in the water. How do you evaluate that I'm in real water, or what do you think is just a mirage? How do you evaluate that? Is by coming closer towards the place from where the water was appearing. Coming closer, you realize it's totally dry. There's nothing, there's no trace of water there, which means you conclude earlier what appears as water to you was in fact a mirage. This is what we conclude. Likewise, what we see as a person is so objectively real. By going closer to the object, if we see that it's not there, we conclude that it's not objectively there, it's simply subjectively real. Okay, let us go closer to the object. Going closer to the object, anything which is not a self, we are only interested to see the self, which we identified as existing objectively. Anything which is not a self, we are going to ignore that. Or, going close to the object, we see a very thin layer of the skin. There's no self. Take it, ignore this or take it away. Behind that are the fatty tissues. Of course, they are not me. Keep them aside. Behind that, the muscles, cartilages. Of course, these are not me. Keep them aside. Then the skeleton, whole skeleton, bone marrow. Of course, these are not me. Skeleton is so scary to look at. Even my own skeleton, if I were to see this, it would be very scary, let alone seeing the skeleton of others. Of course, this is not me. Keep it aside. Your heart, lungs, the brain, liver, spleen, kidney, stomach, gallbladder, pancreas. None of these are part of me. Keep them aside. What's left now? Element water. These solid parts constitute the element of earth. So from this we realize that none of the element of earth is me. Keep them aside. Now the element water, the blood which is pumped in and out by the heart to the different parts of the body. Of course, element water is not me. Keep that aside. Element fire, the body heat. The body heat, which is about like 2,500 joules of energy in the body. Of course, that is not me. When body heat increases and decreases, and the fire, it increases and decreases depending on the temperature, external temperature, as well as the health of the body. Element fire is also not me. Keep that aside. Next, element of air. Air that I breathe in and out. Which is about like 6 liters of air. That is not me. Keep that aside. Element space. 99.999% of our body is vacuum. This space, our body is constituted of trillions, about like 3 trillion atoms, or 3 trillion cells. And they are further made of innumerable atoms. These atoms, the space between the electrons and the proton, is 99.999% of the space occupied by the whole atom, which means that we are just, essentially, we are just vacuum in nature. But this space is not me, because I'm a solid person. People see me as a positive, as some phenomenon, as some person. The space is recommendation. It is not me. Keep that aside. What's left now? Only the consciousness or the mind is left. If this consciousness of the mind is also not me, I'm a male, I'm a female. The mind does not have a gender. Gender is posited on the basis of the body. And on top of that, people can see me, people cannot see my mind. So therefore, even the mind is also not me. Keep that aside. What is left now? Nothing is left there. Stay in this experience. Nothing is left there. From this understanding, what we see is just the 6 elements there: element of earth, water, fire, air, space, and consciousness. Which of the 6 elements is this person? None of the 6 elements is me. Which means that you are not one with these parts. Now keep aside the parts, keep aside the 6 elements. The self may be, if it does exist objectively, it makes us different from these 6 elements. Keep aside the 6 elements, nothing is left there. So if something does exist, if the self does exist objectively, these are the only 2 options. Either the 6 elements should be the self, one of the 6 elements should be the self, or the collection of the 6 elements should be the self, or different from 6 elements should be the self. Both are not true, which means that given that the self, if the self does exist objectively, it should be either findable amidst the 6 elements, or should be findable as different from the 6 elements. Since both are not true, the perception of the self to be objectively real, this is deceptive. From the object side, the self is nowhere to be seen, the self is empty. Okay, what is there then? If self is not, if this, we have gone too close to the object, now the 6 elements is self, and separate from the 6 elements is there is no self. What is the self now? It's empty. It disappears, it's empty. It's not really there, it's empty. Stay in this experience. You are not exaggerating. You are just covering a fact that from the object side, the self is empty. You have come too close to the object. Now tell me, where's the self? The self, which earlier seems so purified, is deceptive. It's not really there. Stay in this experience. This is the meaning of everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. It's amazing. What benefit is there by this understanding? What benefit is there? Just as the self, we realize that it dissolves in this experience of emptiness. We discover that the self is empty from objective existence. Likewise, we subject all the miseries, tension, anxiety, anguish, sickness, aging, death, the pain of losing near and dear ones, and so forth. Just subject all these to the same analysis. We see that they are all just empty. Empty from the object side, empty in the face of the ultimate analysis. They are all just empty. To amazement, we realize that they are all just empty objectively. Nothing really there from the object, besides like a dream coming from the subject. From the object, they are all just empty. In this experience of emptiness, all the miseries dissolve, all the mental turbulence dissolve, all the sorrow dissolves. Stay in this experience emptiness, where all the sorrow dissolves. Because the sorrow dissolves, what do you experience? You experience total peace. Total peace. This experience of emptiness, where the total peace is stably experienced, stably realized or experienced, this is the nirvana. The aspiration to achieve this state is known as renunciation. So this is a final meaning of renunciation.
Oftentimes, we understand renunciation to renounce renounce miseries, to renounce the samsara, to renounce the contaminated happiness and so forth. There are the meanings. There are the meanings of renunciation, but the most subtle understanding of renunciation is aspiration to seek this experience of emptiness where all the miseries dissolve. This is the true meaning of the renunciation. And what you aspire is the true meaning of nirvana. And the opposite of nirvana, where the projection starts, because of self-grasping, is the true meaning of samsara. Okay. Slowly come out of this meditation. This is renunciation. Slowly come out of this meditation before we switch to bodhicitta. Okay, ready for bodhicitta practice? For the bodhicitta, what we do is that we will do the 4 immeasurables and end with the bodhicitta commitment. Okay, ready? For the bodhicitta practice, because this is journey, the opposite of bodhicitta is the self-centered attitude. And we are so addicted to self-centered attitude, all these eons and eons of time. It's so difficult to overcome the self-centered attitude, and because of which we seek the help, the support, the blessings of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Okay, let's reinforce the visualization of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So compassionate, so loving, and so caring. Without the support of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, it is most likely that we cannot really experience the bodhicitta, which is a revolutionary concept which we cannot even imagine in the dreams happening, let alone actually experiencing it. So therefore, without this, we cannot have the lasting happiness. We cannot have the infinite happiness. Well, deep inside, everybody is seeking this infinite happiness. If you really want to see this, experience the infinite happiness, this bodhicitta meditation, bodhicitta experience is indispensable. Okay, for that matter, we do the 4 immeasurables. Later on, when you're by yourself, then the bigger point to learn these 2 methods, the method to generate bodhicitta, the 7-fold cause-effect method to generate bodhicitta, and the method of equalizing and exchanging self for others to generate bodhicitta. These 2 methods. And just with the help of 4 immeasurables, you cannot generate bodhicitta, but the 4 immeasurables will lay a very sound, fertile ground for us to grow the crops of the bodhicitta. Because okay, so we have to do that on the 2 methods. So here we will do the 4 immeasurables. 1, due to constraint of time, and number 2 is because we need to have the instructions. And particularly in group, unless we have like 1 hour, 2 hours, just for the bodhicitta meditation, these 2 methods are quite time-taking. Okay. And as again the same thing, this guided meditation, just try to invoke the respective experiences to the best you can. And as I explain give the instructions on each of the 4 immeasurables, just see what are the demarcating lines of the 4 immeasurables. In what way the 4 immeasurables they differ. It's so important for us to know, take note of these. And meanwhile, see how much to invoke the respective experiences. Okay, reinforce the visualization of Bodhisattva, so loving, so caring towards you, and reinforce the Bodhisattva faith to your 2 parents and all the demonstration is around you, leaving another side. And imagine that they are joining you in this practice of bodhicitta for immeasurables, immeasurable loving kindness. How good would it be that all my dear sentient beings are endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. The cause of happiness primarily consisting of the material resources, good health, medicines, education facilities, and good environment, and so forth. And the most important wish, the bodhicitta, unconditional, the most appealing mind of bodhicitta, and the most fearless mind of the wisdom of emptiness. May all my dear sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the cause of happiness. I'll take the responsibility that all my dear sentient beings are endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas witnessing the living is such a courageous commitment, they intensely happy and proud of you. The way the mother, after all these many years of hardship in raising her children, today, the eldest daughter, just aged 12, and the eldest son, aged 13, two of them come to the mother, telling the mother, "Mother, please take rest. You have done everything for us. Now we're grown up. I'm grown up. I'll take care of my siblings. Mother, you have done everything for us. You love us so much, and we love you so much." And the mother could not believe her eyes and ears. After all these many years of her going through, been through this hardship in raising her children, today she is hearing something so loving expression of the daughter's sense of taking responsibility, of the son's sense of taking responsibility. She's so happy, she's so proud of you today. This is exactly what all the Buddhist Bodhisattvas are feeling today, to hear that you make such a courageous commitment to take the responsibility of all the demon sentient beings. This intensity of the love and the pride the Buddhist Bodhisattvas experience invoke the compassionate mission minds within them to send for nectars and soothing lights with all demon sentient beings. The mere touch of the lights and nectars with the bodies and beings yours instills in all happiness and the causes of happiness in the minds of such beings you yourself. And you, with this such a miracles happening to us, all the demon sentient beings, you're intensely happy. Take 3 deep breaths, sign up the relief. Next, immeasurable compassion. How good would it be that all my demon sentient beings are freed from suffering and the cause of suffering, primarily the self-grasping ignorance and self-centered attitude, along with the offshoots in the form of inappropriate attention, gross afflictions, and the contaminant karmas. May all my dear sentient beings be freed from suffering and the cause of suffering. I'll take the responsibility that all my ultimate sentient beings are freed from suffering and the cause of suffering. The Buddhist Bodhisattvas witnessing that you make such a courageous commitment, that intensely happy and proud of you, this pride and happiness invoke their omniscient minds to sense of nectars which fertilize to assume the ultimate sentient beings. A mere touch of lights and nectars with the body springs of yours washes away all the miseries and cause of miseries from the sentient beings of yourself. And you witnessing such a miraculous happening to us all ultimate sentient beings, you are intensely happy. Take three deep breaths silently. Next, immeasurable joy. How good would it be that all my sentient beings are never separated from happiness and the cause of happiness that they're endowed with. May all my sentient beings never be separated from happiness and the cause of happiness that they're endowed with. Ultimate responsibility that all sentient beings are never separated from happiness and the cause of happiness that they are endowed with. Okay, the sentiment that you're cultivating now of the immeasurable joy, likewise the early one we did, immeasurable loving kindness, immeasurable compassion, it may be so superficial at the moment, it doesn't matter. It is through the superficiality that to begin, that eventually through practice it becomes so natural and spontaneous. Like how we practice music, initially we have to do it so superficially, no music is there. And eventually through practice it becomes so natural, spontaneous, with a very melodious, with a very fine-tuned music. This is how we have to practice the Four Immeasurables. Okay, I'll take the responsibility that all my sentient beings are never separated from happiness and the cause of happiness that they're endowed with. The Buddhist Bodhisattvas witnessing the revealing such a courageous commitment, they intensely happy and proud of you. This pride and happiness invoke the omniscient minds to send for nectars which very sweet lights to us, the ultimate sentient beings. The mere touch of lights and nectars with the body brings you yours, stabilizes the happiness and the cause of happiness that the beings are endowed with. And you, but this is such a miraculous happening to us, you ultimate sentient beings, you are intensely happy. Take 3 deep breaths, silently. Immeasurable equanimity. Immeasurable equanimity. How good would it be that all my sentient beings are freed from the biased attitude of excessive attachment towards some and aversion towards others, and instead abide in a great state of equanimity, embracing all of the sentient beings equally with tremendous love and affection, leaving none aside. May all my sentient beings be freed from the biased attitude of excessive attachment towards some and aversion towards others. I'll take the responsibility that all my sentient beings are freed from the biased attitude of excessive attachment towards some and aversion towards others. The Buddhist Bodhisattvas witnessing the revealing such a courageous commitment, they intensely happy and proud of you. The way the mother feels so proud to hear her eldest daughter and the son telling the mother, "Mother, please take rest. You have done everything for us. I'm grown up now. I'll take care of my siblings, and I'll also take care of you. You love us so much. You love us so much. We also love you so much. Mother, please take rest." The mother could not believe her eyes and ears. There's tremendous pride and happiness the mother feels when the tears roll down her cheeks. This is exactly what's happened to all Buddhist Bodhisattvas. The intense happiness, proud for you, the commitment that we made today. And this pride and happiness invoked their mission minds to send the letters and supervised with all dimensions of beings. The mere touch of lights and nectars with balls and with yours frees the beings from the biased attitude of the excessive attachment to some elevation towards others, instead making them abide in the great state of equanimity, embracing all other dimensions with intense love and affection, leaving them aside. And you witnessing such a miracle assembly because all the dimensions of beings, you're intensely happy. Take 3 deep breaths silently. Underscoring all the four mesh poles is unconditional love towards all dimensions of beings. Imagine that you are looking at the eyes of each of the sentient beings with total love, affection, attention and praise, one by one, reassuring each one of them, have no fear, I'm there to take care of you. Have no tension, I'm there to take care of you. And each one of them feels themselves as so special in your eyes. Okay, with folded hands, I'll say the line of the Bodhi commitment, line of the Bodhi commitment. And we all say this 3 times together wholeheartedly. As I said earlier, initially it can be like superficial, it doesn't matter. This is how we begin. And eventually this, the most appealing mind of bodhicitta can potentially arise in us. Are you ready? With folded hands. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. Okay, state this experience of this most appealing mind of the bodhicitta, the most appealing mind that can possibly exist in this universe. Now you've generated this. State this experience for a while. Slowly transform this beautiful mind of bodhicitta into a spotless, clean moon disk, 1 inch or 1.5 inches in diameter, horizontally sitting at the heart. It's amazing that we made such a courageous commitment to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. It's amazing. But no matter how much you squeeze a handful of sand, no oil will come out of that. Likewise, how can you know that you can become Buddha? That you can become a Buddha? Of course I can become a Buddha. I have the Buddha nature. I'm not like a handful of sand. I'm like a handful of sunflower seeds. You squeeze a handful of sunflower seeds and all will come out of that. Likewise, I feel Buddha nature within me. But how come that since time immemorial till now, how come that this Buddha nature never manifested in the form of Buddha? That's true. It's all because since time immemorial till now, I've been seeing the self-grasping, ignorant, self-centered attitude, these two as the best of my friends. When I become angry, the self-grasping ignorance solidifies the object so strongly, and the self-centered attitude says that, yes, destroy the other person. This is how I saw the two as my best of my friends and best of my gods to give me strength. And today, with this Nalanda Sutra, I discovered that these two are not my friends. These two come in the facade of my friends, but these two are the worst of my enemies. Today I'm disillusioned by these two. These two are the worst of my enemies. Never will I surrender these two. I will do everything to exterminate these two. I will exterminate these two, but it's according to the very powerful remedy. What remedy? The remedy of the wisdom of emptiness. Okay, let's quickly retreat the experience of emptiness, which we did as a third seal, meditation on the third seal, as a part of the four seals. Okay, quickly retreat the experience of emptiness. What are you doing? I'm meditating. How does this person appear to you? This I appear to you? Like a dream, your mind projecting it, or nothing to do with this subject projecting it, but from the object existing, so objectified and objectively and so defined. This is the self-grasping ignorance. How do you know that? The wisdom. If this self would exist objectively, the closer I go to this object, I should be able to find it. Okay, let us go closer to this self. The way we did this before. Closer we go to the self, we see that it's just nothing but constituted of the six elements. Which of the six elements is this self? The earth, water, fire, air, space, and consciousness. Which of the six elements is the present? None. Different from the six elements, what's the present? None. So since both these options are not true, we can clearly decide that from the object side, the self is empty. Still this experience that the self disappears. So there's no way to be found upon reaching closer to this object. The self is nowhere to be found, it simply disappears. This is not what you're exaggerating, this is what you're discovering. Still this experience that the self is nowhere to be found by growing closer to this object. This is wisdom of emptiness. It may be very gross at the moment, it doesn't matter. This is how we begin. And then over time, with more extensive studies, reflection, meditation, we can refine this experience to subtler and subtle experience. Okay, slowly transform this fearless mind of the wisdom of emptiness into a spotless, clean, white vajra, thumb-sized white vajra, vertically sitting on the moon-to-square heart. Okay, it's amazing that you have this vajra moon now. Moon symbolizing the conventional bodhicitta, which wishes to become Buddha to benefit all, for the sake of all sentient beings. This is the final remedy to overcome the self-centered attitude. And Vajra symbolizing the ultimate bodhicitta, which is the non-dual wisdom of emptiness of the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas. This is a final remedy to overcome the self-grasping ignorance, and the self-stays is amazing. I'm so lucky that today I have this do the Vajra moon to cleanse my mind of all the mental stains and to manifest this Buddha nature in the form of the full-fledged Buddhahood is amazing. Let's not forget all the dear sentient beings, your two parents, your children, your family members, everyone is there. What's the point? If they are suffering, and if you become enlightened, what's the point of you finally be free, becoming fearless, and you experience the infinite happiness? while all the demon sentient beings, they're suffering terribly. What's the point? That's very true. Out of intense love and affection, towards all the demon sentient beings, intense compassion towards all demon sentient beings, wishing to help them by getting rid of all this suffering and the cause of suffering, wishing to help them, to give them maximum happiness. This compassion and the loving kindness invoke the Russian moon into heart to multiply infinite number of times. She once said to the Russian moon with the mother at her heart. One said of the Russian moon at the heart of your father. One said with each one of your children, your family members, everyone here in Bangalore, and everyone in India, human beings, the animals, the insects, spirits, God and goddesses, hungry those beings, hell beings, every sentient being in India, in the world, in the entire universe. Amazing. Amazing. Now let us think of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are with us. Sins are coming together here. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are so proud of what they're doing. They are so proud, so happy of what they're doing. Okay. With this, imagine that we invite the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to be our guests for the undertaking the aspiring Bodhisattva vow. Now, for that matter, as a gesture of requesting Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to be our guests, along with all demon sentient beings, let us stand up to make 3 prostrations to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.